No fancy intro, no pre-screenshot. I had a whole different plan for starting this channel, but the world changed what is now yesterday, and so I'm here to talk about that. It's not lost on me that today is now September 11th, and that yesterday, September 10th, Charlie Kirk was assassinated in a horrific and brutal shooting on a college campus. Um, I don't think it's random or a coincidence that Charlie's organization is called Turning Point, because um, I don't think his assassination is going to be anything other than a turning point in this country. Whether that's for the better or the worse, I don't know. Um, it's part of what's been keeping me up all night. It's currently 2 a.m. when I'm recording this on September 11th, and I don't know what kind of America I'm going to wake up to tomorrow. I have hope and faith, and I'm praying that I wake up to a nation that is in mourning but moved towards the goodness of God and towards um and towards revival and towards making things in this world better and towards rooting out evil without resorting to chaos and violence. But I don't know what it's going to be like, because there are very concerning things following this assassination that just leave me wondering. Um, some of the biggest moments in my lifetime, honestly, were probably September 11th. I remember where I was, what I was doing, what happened. That whole day is still vividly in my mind. I was in seventh grade, and I remember my homeroom teacher coming in, and I could tell he was deeply disturbed and concerned and worried, and something was going on. And I remember him trying to explain to these seventh graders in his class what had happened, and he just didn't have the words. The best he could kind of muster was telling us that the two towers were gone. And even at that time, I was imaginative and creative, and I was struggling to understand the picture he was trying to paint. The teachers decided they weren't going to turn on the television for us. They didn't want us to see what was going on. But my science teacher in my second to last class of the day turned on the radio. And by that time, they were just talking about what was going on in the moment, and that, they were confirming that it was a terrorist act. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was, they were talking about Osama bin Laden even at that point, or maybe that was the next day. I can't remember for sure, but I do remember it was confirmed terrorism. And then, they were talking about the Pentagon and then the plane that crashed in the field. I forget if that was in Maryland or Virginia, in Virginia somewhere, I think. Um, but again, it was on the radio, and they were reflecting on things. So really, the gravity of the situation and of what had happened that day was kind of lost on all of us. I remember, though, I lived close to my school. I grew up in the Midwest in Illinois, near East St. Louis, just across the river from St. Louis, Missouri, and I was so close that I could actually walk home. I typically rode my bike, but I remember riding home that day and immediately turning on the TV, and the shock of the images that I saw still moves me to this day. I vividly remember watching the footage of the first tower get hit, and then the second, and then the people jumping from the buildings to their death because they didn't want to die from either smoke inhalation or fire. And there seemed to be no other way out. Um, I remember watching the towers fall, the first one falling, and then the images of those that survived rushing in to try and see who survived the collapse. Firefighters and police looking for their brothers. And then the second tower coming down and burying them too. Um, Absolutely horrific moment. I remember waking up the next day to a new America, a America that was united, where our political differences didn't matter anymore. We were all Americans on that day, and we were all united together in mourning and in sadness and in justified anger at those who were responsible for this tragedy. I remember American flags selling out overnight, and every house and business flying them proudly, signaling to a whole country that whatever our differences and our bickerings, and even down to the pettiest of things and racism, none of that mattered. For like 6 months, this country was solid and united. And eventually, the political differences and the other things came back up, but I remember that. You know, not long after that, of course, were the wars and all those things that followed. Some good, some bad. Um, Probably one of the next major moments in my lifetime was the election of the first African American president. You know, Barack Obama. That was a massive moment for this country. First black president, and I remember going through that election and watching both sides, and I remember thinking, you know, politically there's a lot of things I don't agree with, but I had such hope that the first black president would be a sign of good things to come, that maybe he would govern like another Bill Clinton and be in the middle of the road, and you know, some of the more radical stuff he said wasn't going to be a problem because he was going to govern like a moderate with the Republicans like Bill Clinton did, and the first black president was going to really just be the capstone that finally put an end to race relations in America being what they have been. Boy, was I wrong about that. Um, I think we got set back 30 or 40 years after that presidency. And so I think that was another defining moment. Man, the 2016 election was huge. But kind of like in the sense of Obama, I don't think it was as big as Obama's election, first black president. I think that's even though it was, I think it was great that we elected a black president. I think the man himself, take away the color of his skin. I'm not talking about that. His policies and the way he governed were terrible, so it was bad. Trump winning was just a massive upset to the system. I think it was the first time that people started to really wake up in this country to be like, what is going on? And we need something different. We need actual hope and change, not the lies that we were sold before. Uh, you know, and then he lost, and I'm not an election denier, but I think that little bump that Biden got at 3 a.m. on election night, election morning, I don't buy for a second that that was legit. No one has ever shown me any evidence that that was 100% legit, because Biden got that little bump and nobody down ticket got the same bump. Whereas historically, anytime the top of the ticket gets a bump, a whole bunch of people, not necessarily all of them, but a whole bunch of people down the ticket get that same bump. Say what you will. That was what it was. And then, not really huge moments, but the assassination attempt on Trump was the next massive moment in this country. And we witnessed a miracle. If ever there was a miracle recorded live for the world to see, it was Trump surviving that assassination attempt. We've all been through the videos. If his head hadn't turned exactly when it did, even a heartbeat later, we would have watched him die just like we watched Charlie Kirk die yesterday. I don't know God's plan. I don't know. Well, I believe we know why Trump was spared, because without Trump, we'd have Kamala Harris and this country would be done for. I think God saved the nation by turning Trump's head. And now we arrive at the next major incident, which was yesterday, September 10th, 2025, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated on a college campus in Utah. Which, by the way, college campuses are gun-free zones, so I would like someone on the left to explain to me how gun laws were put in place, and yet Charlie in a gun-free zone was still brutally executed by this assassin. It was illegal for that rifle to be on that campus, so how did Charlie die? He died because gun laws aren't the problem. It's not that we don't have enough of them. It's that we don't take security seriously. We don't take mental health seriously. And good men in this country have refused to stand up against blatant evil for too long. This is not a thing about politics anymore. And if you don't get that yet, it's because you haven't read enough of the Bible. And if you haven't read, I encourage you to pick up your Bible right now. Forget the rest of my video and start reading Revelations. And when you're done with Revelations, go to Matthew, I believe chapter 24, and read what Jesus told the disciples when they asked him about the end times and his return. And then start reading the rest of Matthew and the other Gospels, Mark, Luke, and John, and then the rest of the Bible, however you see fit. Maybe Proverbs after that. I really like Proverbs. Prophetically speaking, there are no prophecies left to be filled before the rapture and the tribulation and the second coming of Jesus, which means the rapture could happen at any time. Before I post this video, right after I post this video, in the next 2 seconds before I finish making the video, tomorrow, the day after, next week, next month, next year, maybe in 50 years. I don't know. The point is, Jesus at any moment could sweep up the church, which is not everyone who says they're a Christian. It is only those who have salvation through Jesus Christ, those who are written in the book of life, those who have asked for forgiveness of their sins and repented of those sins and acknowledged that Jesus is the Son of God, that he is the Savior, and asked him to save them and for him to be their Savior. That is the church, the body of true believers whose names are written in the book of life. At any moment, Jesus could snatch up his church into heaven through the rapture, thus beginning the 7-year tribulation period where the Antichrist rises to power. and it'll be 3.5 years of rough times and 3.5 years of hell on earth. And then Jesus will come back just as he left on the clouds, only this time he will come with the armies of heaven, which will be all those that were raptured and all those that had salvation and died before the rapture, all the saved people of heaven. We will all be on horseback riding out through the clouds down to the earth to defeat the armies of Satan. They will be wiped out, and Jesus will begin his 1,000-year reign in the new kingdom here on earth. And at the end of that 1,000-year reign will be the judgment, the final judgment, where all those whose names are not written in the book of life will be cast into the lake of fire, and with Satan and all his other fallen angels, forever separated from God and from heaven. And then Jesus will make a new heaven and a new earth where all those whose names were written in the book of life and are saved will be with God and Jesus forever and eternity. Read Revelations, read Matthew, specifically I think it's 24 where he talks about that, and then read the rest of it, and you will see there is nothing stopping God from coming back and doing that. And I can tell you right now, if we wake up in the morning, or when you see this video today, if things are going into chaos, he's coming, and he's coming very soon. And here's the other flip side to that. If we wake up and things are great and there's revival and people are getting saved and things are going fantastic, he's probably still coming, and he's probably coming sooner, because things are lining up. All right. In Revelation, it talks about how during the tribulation, the Antichrist will actually, you know what? I'm coming back to Revelation and the end times in just a minute, but I want to play. Let me make sure these are on. They turn off if nothing comes through to save battery. Otherwise, I love them. This was Trump's message tonight about Charlie, and I love everything about it.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Everything he said was 100% on point.
God bless America.
Celebrating his death.
He deserves to die, and I hope he burns in hell. And I really don't want to hear any moral superiority from the people who were just laughing about undocumented immigrants getting eaten up by alligators.
Evil, celebrating his death.
Colorado rise. Let's wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. The House will be in order.
It's really hard to hear, but what you're not hearing, just little whispers and things, is because they're not on mic. Is Representative Lauren Boebert asked, after they did a moment of silence, if they could say a prayer for Charlie and his family, and Democrats shout out no. Another one shouts out, why don't you pass gun legislation? Evil.
Sharp shot, clean bullets, exactly where it needed to go to kill him instantly. It went right that you can.
Evil, celebrating his death.
Go to have somebody look at.
I don't know if I believe this. So TMZ was live streaming moments before he was told that Trump announced Charlie was dead. You hear people in the background cheering. Now, other people there found out and then had to tell this guy who was talking, because obviously he didn't have a phone in front of him. He was relying on people around him to tell him what's going on. So it looks like the people found out he was dead, cheered about it, and then this guy was told, and it was all accidentally captured on live stream because those people didn't think that maybe the camera was on, is really what it looks like. And the fact that they came out and said, oh, we want to make clear that this is for some other thing that was going on that's unrelated, I think is BS.
Charlie Kirk was shot dead today.
Celebrating his death.
I'm just really glad Charlie Kirk just got himself fucking shot, because he's right. Empathy.
celebrating his death evil. And the
Just
media,
said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
disgusting. That man should be fired. He's basically saying Charlie's responsible for his own death because he was doing hate speech. I would give $1 million to anyone who could actually find something that Charlie said that was hateful towards someone else, because here's where our society has gone wrong. People nowadays want to say that the truth is mean and hateful. The truth is just the truth. There is no such thing as your truth or speak my truth, or that's all nonsense. That is a lie directly from the mouth of Satan himself. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And Jesus saying that tells you that he is the truth. He is often referred to as the Word, which means the Bible is the truth. There is only the truth. There is no your truth. There's your opinion, there's your beliefs, and there is the truth. Charlie only ever spoke the truth, and he was killed for it. They haven't found the shooter yet, by the way. And people are saying this was a precision shot, an expert, probably paid hit, planned for days now. The dude was potentially seen running away off a rooftop after shooting him. You got people like this person posting disgusting stuff. If this is who I think it is, the teacher. Yeah. Inciting hate. No. Oh, this is a good one.
Right now, if you could tell me the U.S. citizen that was deported under Donald Trump, you said that twice. Yeah, the U.S. citizen that was deported under Donald Trump. Can anyone tell me? 1,000 pounds. I'll give it to you right now. Yeah, name? Wrong. Not a U.S. citizen. Citizen El Salvador. Anyone else? U.S. citizen deported under Trump. Nope, that was a lie. You should know better than that. You go to Oxford. So that.
He is only ever speaking the truth. And when the agenda of the left, which is always mired in lies, comes face to face with Charlie, it is always shut down by the truth. If you haven't seen the video, don't. It's out there. Don't. It is horrific. I can't unsee it. When I close my eyes, I watch him die every time. Do not go watch that video.
Would you, if you could be associated, how do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die,
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
They literally found the best man that we had in this country, maybe on this earth, and murdered him because of his faith and because he spoke the truth. Say what you will about Trump and the questionable things that he may or may not have said, how he's brash and has mean tweets. Charlie wasn't that guy. He was respectful. He was loving. In fact, he was more loving than probably anyone else out there, because if you love someone, you will tell them the truth. Do you lie to the people you love? No, you tell them the truth. The hard truth, because you care. Charlie wasn't afraid to tell the truth because he loved and cared about people truly, like Jesus commanded. He was a man of God. He was a good man. The only people who speak ill of him are those who are his political opposites And all they can do is tell lies. He was a loving father, good husband, caring man, a generous giver, hard worker, a servant leader. And they killed him. He was the best of us. I gotta find... Oh, I had it up. Now I've lost it. This is a good
prayers,
one, though.
but thoughts and prayers for his family. And they need it from all of us. And Jesse's right. If they could do this, they are capable of anything. I think that was the message. I believe that was the message. It's really hard to radicalize Republicans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're not the radical type. But if you thought that you were going to shut a movement down, you're going to get a rude awakening. You woke us the fuck up.
A very powerful short snippet there from Gutfeld. Very powerful. And that's part of the reason why I don't know what America I'm going to wake up to tomorrow. And I'm praying it's going to be the America that's like after 9/11, that comes together in support and love. But from what I've been seeing so far today and tonight, I don't know if that's possible anymore. I don't know if that America, that post 9/11 America, I don't know if it exists. The celebration from the left at Charlie's murder, assassination, is deeply disturbing. And the fact that it is so widespread and being shared and retweeted by the thousands and sometimes millions is deeply disturbing. There are even people that are getting thousands of likes and retweets and shares calling for more violence. They want more assassinations on politically right, conservative Christian people. They want more. Let me find this one. I can't, my glasses suck. So if I mistype, don't judge me, I can't see. I'm trying to find the right one. I can't see how long they are. I think it's this first one. This wholly encapsulates my reaction to figuring this out and seeing what happened. And I really resonate with Glenn Beck. I went to the Restoring Honor rally on 8/28. I forget the year now. In Washington D.C. At the reflecting pool at the base of the Lincoln Memorial, and listened to him speak. And his messages were about honor, truth, and justice. And I got to meet him once in Virginia and Charleston at one of his events. That was great. He was talking a lot about the Titanic. I actually have a piece of Titanic coal here, brought up from the bottom of the ocean. Genuine artifact of history. And you know, he was talking about how the U.S. was potentially the Titanic, and we needed to save our ship at the time. And Glenn Beck's also a man of faith. And I remember when he did that Restoring Honor rally, he had a bulletproof vest on. Even back then, we knew.
There are news outlets reporting the worst right now, Glenn. I don't know what I'm waiting for before I report it. You know, I trust just the news. I trust Deseret. What are we waiting for, like the AP to say it? We don't trust them more than we trust these. They're reporting that Charlie has died. That he's dead. At the age of 31. Which he would have to be if that video was real.
There's no way he survived that. The only good thing is, it had to have happened quickly.
Right. Right. If you see the video, you do not see any suffering.
No.
He appears to have been spared the horrific moments after that the girl on the Charlotte train wasn't, when she knew she was dying or she knew something terrible had happened.
I don't think
In the
Charlie
videos,
did.
it's clear Charlie went down. He went down quickly.
I'm telling you, don't watch that video if you haven't seen it already, because everything they are saying is true. When I saw it, the reporting was that he was stable in the hospital, but deep down, when I saw that video, I knew he was gone, and he was gone the moment that shot hit him. Bless those people who acted fast and rushed him to the hospital and did everything they could to try to save him. But he was taken from us the moment that bullet hit its mark. And just like the sight of those towers being hit and those people jumping to their death and the towers coming down on September 11th is etched into my brain forever, so too now is watching Charlie Kirk die. It is etched on my mind forever. Watching his life and his soul and his spirit leave that body. The best of us. There was only ever one sinless, perfect man, and that was Jesus Christ. And they nailed him to a cross. And that had to happen for our sins to be paid for and atoned so that we could, through Jesus and through salvation in him, get into heaven. Charlie Kirk is about the closest thing you could find to a good, perfect man who was killed because, like Jesus, he spoke the truth. He did not deserve death. He was not a bad person. He was only 31. I'm 36 and I haven't done anything with my life. At 31 years old, Charlie Kirk changed the story of the nation. Changed the lives of so many people, did so much good. I firmly believe that without Charlie Kirk, there would have been no reason for God to spare Trump's life last year in that assassination attempt, because without Charlie Kirk, Trump wouldn't have won the election anyway, even if he had spared his life. You know, we talk about how that election was galvanized in that moment, but without Charlie Kirk, I don't think even surviving that assassination attempt would have got him across the finish line. I think Charlie is the reason, a small part of the reason we got Donald Trump in 2016 and a massive part of the reason we got Donald Trump in 2024. And like I said, I don't think it's an accident that he started an organization called Turning Point in his life, and in his death he was a turning point for this country and for many people. Beyond that, I'm sure he has, through his faith and through his unashamed, unafraid willingness to speak the truth, I am sure he has led people to Christ. There are people that are in heaven because of him, for sure. And this nation is better off because of what he has done. And they killed him for it. And when I say they, coming back to Revelation, what I mean is the forces of darkness, evil. When you read the Bible and when you have faith, you understand, like I said, this is not politics anymore. This is good versus evil. The forces of darkness, Satan and his fallen angels, are working hard to ensure that good men of faith like Charlie are not successful in their mission to change lives, lead people to Christ, and make this country better. Because a strong, prosperous, faithful America will do good things in this world. We are the city on a hill. And if you want further clarification of that, let's go back to Revelation. There are many people know this. If you've never read the Bible, you have heard of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse at some point. That is biblical. When you go read, there are 4 colors of those 4 horsemen. Not in this specific order, but there's black, white, red, and green. Green is often referred to as pale, but if you translate it out correctly, pale is actually like a green. I want you to Google real quick all the flags of majority Muslim and or non-Christian nations out there and see what 4 colors, like all of them or like 99% of them use. I'll wait. Coincidence that all of them use those 4 colors? I don't think so. Google again. What do all the Christian and non-Muslim nations use for the colors of their flags? Wait. Red, white, and blue? Coincidence? I don't think so. When the rapture happens and God takes the church off of the earth before the tribulation, again, the church is all the true believers in Christ who are saved through Jesus, and their names are already written in the book of life. All the true Christians are taken off the earth. All the majority Christian nations are going to fall into chaos. And because think about it. Imagine, let's just say conservatively, 20% of the population of the United States is true believing Christians, and maybe another 10 or 20% are Sunday Christians who aren't really saved but just kind of go to church because it's, whatever, but they don't really believe. That'd be like maybe 40% of the country is Christian. I think that's probably close to accurate. Imagine if 20% of our population disappeared instantly. Everything would come to a screeching halt in this country at that moment. A massive portion of the military disappears. Our military wouldn't be able to function correctly. Massive portion of police and law enforcement would probably disappear. Gangs would be able to run wild and criminals do whatever they want in the streets without any law enforcement to stop them. The worst of society are now the majority and are able to run roughshod over those who remain. The regular everyday people who aren't really saved but just are kind of wandering through life, not realizing that the end is coming. The Christian majority nations, or the nations that have large populations of truly saved Christians, will cease to exist almost overnight. All the majority massively Muslim countries are like 99% Muslim. Why? Because they execute people who convert, and they ban the Bible, and they persecute and kill Christians. Nothing is going to happen to them. They're going to be waking up to just another Wednesday and looking around and going, huh, all the Christian countries are in chaos. And all the Christian countries are currently all the countries that kind of rule the earth. America's the empire right now. What happens when we cease to function? Anything goes. There's a passage in Revelation that talks about, I can take these off because I'm not listening to anything. There's a passage in Revelation that talks about during the 7-year tribulation, at the beginning, the Antichrist will rise to power. He'll be a figure who will bring peace. He'll sign a peace treaty with Israel for 7 years. Halfway through, he's going to break that treaty. He's going to go into the temple, which is going to be a rebuilt temple. Right now, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem has a mosque, a Muslim mosque on it. At some point, that is going to be destroyed, and a new temple is going to be built. It's not really clear when. The mosque could get destroyed before the rapture happens, after the rapture happens, but at some point before the middle mark of the tribulation, 3.5-year point, the temple will have been rebuilt, and the sacrifices will have been started again. So in the old times, when the temple existed before modern times, the Jewish people would, in the old covenant with God, would bring sacrifices to the altar, a lamb or something like that, and the creature would be, I say creature because it could be different animals, whatever. I think. Anyway, let's say the lamb would be brought in. Its throat would be cut, I think, and then it's bled out, and then the fat of the animal is cut off and burned, and then the rest of the animal is in a way processed, and the people in the temple take a portion of it to feed themselves and their family, and they give the rest of the meat back to whoever sacrificed it so they can take it back and feed their family. And that's kind of how it was done. It was a blood offering, and then the fat was burned, something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing and shortening because this is like a really long topic. And then that's how they did the offerings. So the offerings will start again. 3.5 years into the tribulation time period, the Antichrist will go into the temple and violate the inner sanctum, holy of holies of the temple. He will break the treaty with Israel and stop all the sacrifices. The Antichrist will declare himself to be Jesus, come back, the Messiah, that he is God. He will erect a statue or something in the temple that is a image of himself, and that statue or whatever it is in the temple will be able to communicate with people and will be able to blaspheme God and talk to people and have conversations and call things out and monitor people and do all sorts of interesting things. Now, why do I bring all that up? If this statue is able to speak, as in the Antichrist is able to talk through this statue to people, and the way it's described is literally the Antichrist is communicating to people directly through the statue as if he was there, as if the statue is him and he exists somewhere else. What you're getting is essentially, it's telling us that there will be a consciousness in more than one place, and it will have a physical presence over here, but it will also be here in the statue at the same time. I don't know about you, but doesn't that sound kind of like what an AI might be able to do? And it talks about how the mark of the beast will be necessary to purchase goods, and you won't be able to buy food or water or shelter or anything without the mark of the beast. Don't you think an AI would be able to monitor the global economy by implanting a chip maybe in your hand or your forehead where it says the mark will be? And that chip will allow the AI to monitor all of your purchases. And without that chip and the AI link, you won't be able to make purchases. Let me ask you this question. If a demon can possess a person, which if you don't believe so, go watch the video of the transgender shooter that shot up the Catholic school and look at his book where he drew a picture of himself in his little manifesto book where he was sitting looking in a mirror and a demon was looking back at him, and then listen to him speak in his video. You hear his voice and you hear the demon's voice. It is very clear, and it is very disturbing if you've never heard or run into anything like that before, that level of evil. And if you still aren't sure what I'm talking about, read the Bible. And if you want something easier to digest than that, then go watch oh man, what is that movie called? I gotta jump to Google. Nefarious. Perfect. Knew exactly what I was talking about. Go watch the movie Nefarious. It is pretty biblically accurate about how demon possessions might work. And what you will see is the demon speaking through the man. And then, I don't want to spoil the whole movie, but at some point you see the man talk and then the demon talk separately. That is exactly what happens in the YouTube video that transgender shooter put on his YouTube channel before it was all scrubbed off the internet. And if you can't find it, I have it. I will send it to you, and you will hear him speak and you will hear it speak. And if a demon can possess a person, and demons can possess animals, which Jesus cast demons, like a legion of demons out of one person, I think. If I'm getting it wrong and it was somebody else, please don't hate on me. But I believe it was Jesus cast demons out of somebody into a herd of pigs, and the demons scattered out into the pigs, and then the pigs ran off a cliff and died. If demons can possess animals and demons can possess people, what makes you think a demon can't possess an AI? We are entering a time in which all these things can come to pass very easily. How would the Antichrist monitor all global transactions and force everyone to only be able to purchase with a certain mark on their hand or forehead before the advent of technology like, I don't know, our phones? We carry a giant computer in our pocket that is able to listen to everything we say and record it and send it back, watch everywhere we go, and you can access these cameras at any time. We're already carrying what could be used as the mark of the beast in our pocket every day. It's just not a little thing on our hand or in our forehead yet. So the technology exists now for the first time in human history for an Antichrist-like figure to monitor the world and control all transactions. We're this close to digital currency already. Read Revelation, read the Bible, read Matthew. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow and the world's going to start racing off a cliff towards the end times, or maybe we're going to go into a time of revival and awakening, and a lot of people are going to come to know God and know Jesus and get saved. And maybe it's going to get really, really good before maybe he comes back a little bit later. Or maybe it's about to get really bad and he's coming back really, really soon. I don't know. I just watch, read, and listen. And sorry, I was Googling something weird earlier. I watch, read, and listen. And I think
they need it from all of us. And Jesse's right. If they could do this, they are capable of anything. I think that was the message. I believe that was the message. It's really hard to radicalize Republicans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're not the radical type. But if you thought that you were going to shut a movement down, you're going to get a rude awakening. You woke us the fuck up.
And we will.
it's an awakening. I just don't know what kind yet. And
getting bombed in Palestine. Save your sympathy for the people who are getting thrown in the concentration camps right now. Save your fucking sympathy for the people getting deported right now for no reason.
The best wife in the world. We have an amazing life. Building a family is the coolest thing ever. And my prayer for all of you is that you one day can do that.
That's so cute.
It's honestly the most joyful thing. And I've had some pretty amazing experiences. I've been very, very blessed. Very lucky, you could say, but very blessed is the word I would use. And the greatest joy I've ever had is coming home to my little daughter running up to my leg. There's nothing that even comes close to it. Not flying on Air Force One, not meeting with presidents. That pales in comparison to your little girl coming up and squeezing your leg. And I can tell you, I'm super blessed. I have the best.
if you don't know what the Whatever podcast is, essentially Charlie is sitting around a table full of OnlyFans girls who are basically our new age version of prostitutes. They are selling themselves for pennies a month to provide nude photos and videos and all sorts of sexually immoral things. Just giving themselves away for pennies. And there he is, speaking truth and love and care and kindness to these women, trying to tell them, listen, you're going about life all wrong. You're missing the best blessings in life because you've been lied to. Empowering women is not about selling yourself for pennies. It's shocking to me to think about how cheap and how little these women value themselves, that they would give themselves away for so little to so many. And there Charlie Kirk is, loving on them. The man of God that he was, the good man that he was, and they killed him for it.
He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Disgusting. And if this is true and they did fire him, good. I hope that and pray that there is absolutely zero violence when we wake up tomorrow. What I want to see is people being held accountable for evil. If this guy got fired, good. He should not have said that. All these people posting all this nasty stuff on X and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, praising Charlie Kirk's death. They should face repercussions, and if it's losing their job or being shunned from society, there needs to be responsible, nonviolent accountability for what happened yesterday, excuse me. Above and beyond that, good men need to start standing up for what is right and just and true. Let me give you the easiest example. Hillary Clinton put classified information in emails on a non-classified server. My mother was in the SES. SES is the Senior Executive Service. My mom worked her butt off. Her and my father were high school sweethearts. When they got married, their first place they lived was a trailer home, like a 10 by 50 trailer, tiny little, not even 500 square feet trailer. My mom went to night school and worked her butt off and worked her way up from nothing all the way to the equivalent of a 1-star general on the civilian side, which is the SES of the government. You know, working your way up through the military, the 3 or 4 ranks of general on top are the top of the top of the top, the elite. There are not many. There are very few. My mom was this equivalent of a 1-star general on the civilian side of the government. She was up there from nothing. If my mom had put classified information on her own personal server at home like Hillary Clinton did, they would have locked her in a prison for ever and thrown away the key. And I would not have a mother like I do now. I would have somebody I go visit in prison. Hillary Clinton is walking around free because we lived in a corrupt, immoral society. I don't use Hillary's name because of the politics. I don't care left, right, center, Democrat, Republican, independent. Evil people must begin to be held accountable no matter what. The Epstein files, why aren't they out? We were ready to throw this man in prison forever for trafficking children to people, and yet none of the people he trafficked the children to have been brought up on charges yet. Why? That's probably the second best example I could say of where we start. Who is he trafficking people to? I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's a prince in England. I don't care if it's every Fortune 500 CEO, and to throw them all in prison would tank our economy. It is time for evil to be held accountable for its actions in a non-violent way. Because here's the problem. People on the left are going to keep going down this road. There is a shocking amount of people who are putting out tweets calling for more violence and more assassinations, and they are getting a shocking amount of retweets and likes. Shocking amount. Thousands of retweets and likes. The left is doubling down on violence and murder. If we don't use law, order, and justice in a non-violent way of actually enforcing the law on people, whether they're some elite, rich, powerful person or a regular Joe on the street, evil must be held accountable at every level of society equally, or we will descend into chaos, because there's people on the right that are very, very angry about Charlie Kirk being assassinated. And like I said, I don't know what kind of America we're going to wake up to tomorrow, because those people who are really, really angry might not let this go, and there might be violence around the corner, and that is not what anybody wants. I don't want to see more people hurt. I don't want to see more people die. What I want to see is people be held accountable for their actions. Like the person who shot Charlie Kirk must be found, must be prosecuted, and when they're found guilty because of the evidence and a jury proving them guilty, then their punishment should be decided. And you know what? Utah said they got the death penalty. I support it. Find the person, get the evidence, put them in front of a jury trial, let the justice system do what it's supposed to do. And people who are on juries need to stop looking at politics and start looking at the truth. The guy who stabbed that Ukrainian woman was let go 14 times. We cannot have a lawless society. It is going to lead to more death, more violence, and that is not what anybody wants. I already told you that watching Charlie die is haunting. It's why it's 3 a.m. and I haven't gone to sleep yet, because I'm tired, but I don't want to see him in my nightmares dying. The people around you that you love and care for, you don't want to see them hurt. You don't want to watch them die. We cannot descend into chaos and violence. We must have law, order, and justice. And it must be centered around the truth. I hope and pray that tomorrow we wake up and it's the post 9/11 America that came together in love and unity and righteous anger, but did not immediately turn to violence and hatred.
And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering.
The lies, like what's being said right there, have got to stop. The truth needs to be the truth. We can't keep bending things for political gain. People have been saying these disgusting things about Charlie, and it led to someone killing him. It is exactly what President Trump said. The rhetoric from the left continuously calling people on the right Nazis and racists and so on has led to this moment. And right here, that man celebrating Charlie's death the moment it happened. I hope somebody recognizes him and shows this to his boss and they fire him, because there has to be some kind of accountability socially in a non-violent way that leads to people realizing how evil and wrong they are. When someone does something wrong, you cannot just let them get off scot-free. That is not compassion. That is not love. That is evil. Accountability is love and care. Letting people get away with crime and lying and dishonor is not love. You don't love. When you love someone, you tell them the truth. You don't lie to them.
To the West. And the enemies are wokeism or Marxism. Spiritual battle is coming to the West. And the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. And the American way of life is very simple. I want to be able to get married, buy a home, have kids, allow them to ride their bike till the sun goes down, send them to a good school, have a low crime neighborhood, not to have my kid be taught the lesbian, gay, transgender garbage in their school, while also not having them have to hear the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day. That's important. We want the American way of life, which is, by the way, Christendom. Christians, our sacrifice, our toil, our vision, the outgrowth of the scriptures gave us Western civilization. And this is where I think is a great rallying cry. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, doesn't matter if you're Asian, doesn't matter if you're black or white. Everybody, if you are Christian and Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, these two threats are combining forces to come after us. And it's time that the church stands and rises up against it.
Yep. We lost such a good voice. Such a man of faith, a man of God was lost. And I can only hope that him being martyred is going to immortalize his words and elevate them and empower them and lead us down a righteous path of revival and faith and love and truth that this nation so desperately needs. But I just don't know. And I guess it depends, like I said, on where we're at in God's timetable. Are we about to plummet off the cliff into the end times imminently? Or is God about to awaken us into a season of revival? And maybe sometime further off in the distance, when more people have come to faith and are saved and their names are written in the book of life and more pages are added to that great book, and maybe a great season of revival fills up many pages, then maybe later on he will initiate those end times. I don't know. I don't know.
I've been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true, the Anti-Defamation League was...
You're in the lower fucking room, bitch. Oh. Fucking finally. You bitches starting to move and shake, fucking shake, bitch. It's in your real fucking shooter. Stop sitting. Y'all gonna sit in damn... Oh, thank you. And then...
Evil. Good on the Yankees for doing their moment of silence for Charlie, by the way. I don't know what the morning will bring when I go to sleep and wake up. I don't know. This is Charlie.
Is president of the United States. We've got our republic back, folks.
He's celebrating the 2024 election.
Let's go.
Charlie made this happen. We have Trump.
Everybody should remember this moment. Look, I'm gonna echo Charlie from earlier. Remember where you were when this happened. Remember where you were when you realized that the Uniparty and all of these, just the establishment, you said it's time to actually participate. And look what you guys have done.
And if anyone deserves to get tears in his eyes, it's Charlie. I think we all agree.
I think Erica was chopping some onions or something in the break room.
No one has worked harder than Charlie for this.
We gotta hear some words here from you, Charlie. You put all this together, my man. Let's hear it.
I am just humbled by God.
It's all God.
Humbled by God's grace.
It's all God. God alone. God alone.
That's all I can say.
Decision desk has it. Pennsylvania.
It's done.
It's beginning.
A great man of God taken from us way too soon. This man changed a nation. And he's only 31. I'm well past my 36th birthday, and I don't even know if I've changed a life. I can tell you this, I I am changing my life because Charlie sacrificed his for this country, and it can't be in vain. We can't let his death be in vain. And that's why I pray that this will be a season of revival. This will be a season of hope and change, real hope and change, not that crap we were sold in 2008. Real hope, real change. That we will immortalize this man and his sacrifice by turning this country around, not through violence, but through conversation, discussion, and political action, just like Charlie has already done for us. We need to mobilize and get good men and women of faith and belief into positions of power and get these corrupt, evil people out. And again, this is not about political party. There are evil Republicans. There might be a lot more evil Democrats, but there's a couple good ones. But there's still some evil Republicans that gotta go. And we need to start, like I said, peacefully, through law, order, and justice, standing up to evil. There are people around the world that are mourning his passing. Taken too soon. Well, I guess I'm gonna try to get some sleep, and I pray that in several hours, when America awakens to begin this new day as we mourn the loss of Charlie Kirk and remember the anniversary of 9/11, that America wakes up as that post 9/11 America and unifies together in love for one another, and we start on a path of righteousness and revival. So I guess I'll catch you in the morning.